Welcome to Coffee with Kay, where we're going to make sure the coffee is always served strong, but it's also going to come with a side of truth, and that's truth with a capital T. The truth of God, that is. I'm here to equip and encourage you, Saint. Yep, that's right, you. And if you're not familiar with the sainthood, I want to teach you what it is, and I want to invite you to the family. So, let's get right into it.
Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days. The weekend comes, my cycle hums, ready to race to you. Monday, happy days. Tuesday, happy days. Monday, happy days. Tuesday, happy days.
So the weird thing is, and I guess this is a great thing. This particular church did an amazing job of that.
Wow.
I was really, really close with one of the guys on staff, his wife, and her and I mean, we had play dates and we chatted all the time, and they did this really, really well. And we confided in each other. Like, I told her about my marriage and she told me about her marriage, and we really connected in that way. And she would encourage me, and it was great. And so she encouraged me to seek counseling. But she encouraged me to seek counseling only within the church, which is, that's fine. But I think, oh my gosh,
It's okay.
it's in, baby. Go in there. I'm on a phone call. Okay. Have Bubba open them. Go in there. Watch your show.
Oh
my gosh.
Sweet. The best thing, is having older kids. My oldest is about to be 4, and I'm like, just wait till you can wipe your own bottom and then help your sister. Guys, I'm gonna be on a roll. I'll be able to do anything.
Yes, it's the best. Honestly, they've started waking up together, because I got them bunk beds and transitioned Hudson out of a crib and into a normal bed. They wake up together and they just play. A week ago or so, they just woke up and started playing. And I woke up at 8:30 and was where am I? What's going on?
Hey, that is a blessing.
I know it was I love it. And they help each other all the time. They're good brothers.
Good.
But okay. So, the church did this really well. They encouraged us to seek counsel only within the church. I've been to therapy for my phobias in the past. And so my first thought was to find somebody outside of the church who was, shared the same beliefs that we did and was going to view things from a Christian perspective. But it was weird. It was very weird. And it made me feel like it was a power move also to keep things within the church. They wanted to keep it quiet kind of. And so we did counseling through the church, and this particular person on staff, he's not a technical counselor or anything. It's just somebody that we had that we talked to. He was great, and he was helpful, and he asked us questions, and he poured into us. The problem with the pre-divorce stuff is that my ex-husband lied. In counseling. So, and he lied to his, the people that were trying to keep him accountable in his marriage. If he's lying, they have no reason to be prying. You just have to trust that he's going to tell the truth to his people that are his accountability partners, and his circle. But that was the issue, was they did it really well beforehand. And so I then expected things to be okay after, because they all knew, they all knew the depths of our marriage. They knew how much I was struggling and hurting. They knew how much even this friend of mine, I told her, I think that he might be being unfaithful, but I'm not sure. And I'm too afraid to ask. And so she knew that I was hurting. And then I think the way that they reacted made it worse after, because they knew.
Yeah.
If they didn't know, at least I could be well, they didn't know.
Right.
They didn't really know the depths of our marriage, but they did. And and I think it was really, they did a really great job before, like pouring into us and making sure we were good. And they'd check in once a week and see how our marriage was doing. And we'd have play dates, and she would reach out and really just like pray with me and stuff. And that was great. But it was the after that was just completely like opposite.
Oh man.
But yeah. And I think you can't have one without the other. Like you have to do them both really well, which is hard because we're human.
Right.
And we have human emotions. And I'm sure like we were so close with them that it hurt them to see us splitting up and going through divorce. And as much as their emotions are human, they're also like our pastors. So they have to be both. And I'm sure that's really difficult. And I don't know what that's like to walk through, but yeah. That was a very long answer to your question.
No, that's great. And it's like, that kind of threw me for a loop too. And so like, that's awesome that they had those precautionary steps. And it would be interesting to just kind of understand like what happened, like why did this happen afterwards? I feel like that would be such an interesting conversation to have, like, even if it happens in heaven for you, of just, having that understanding. But like, that is so good. And that is something that I just have such a deep interest and vision for, because my husband and I have done a lot of counseling. Oh my word. And just from the baggage that I brought into the marriage, and just, we have polar opposite like backgrounds, where it was just kind of like the people that knew us best, they were like, you guys really should do counseling just to make sure that like, as you bring this puzzle piece together, like it fits and it locks. And like, I mean, we struggled with keeping our covenant, keeping our vows, learning how to communicate, like understanding, like we, even though like there was a time where I wanted to separate because we just were not getting along. And like, I mean, he knows it now, so I'm allowed to say it, but he just was not being a good husband, but I didn't have the grounds for that divorce. So for me to have pursued that, like it would have been an act of severe disobedience, where we just needed to like work it the heck out and get that help. And so we did this one marriage intensive in Dallas, and it was so, so great. And so, but what sparked this thought in this vulnerable sharing is that the after of it was so lacking. So they had this wonderfully intensive weekend. It's great ministry. It was affordable. The testimonies were, I mean, just like, you stayed married after that. Okay, there was this one couple where the guy, he left his wife, moved to Brazil with his new girl, and he had like a business that he moved to Brazil. I mean, he literally like left his wife, left the country, like was gone, and God restored their marriage, and they go travel around. And I was like, Brazil, like really?
Dang.
I like, we were not even on that level with our petty like disagreements and issues we were having. But I was like, okay, you know what? Like we can put in the work, we can do this. But the after of it was just like, man, okay, there's something missing, where I feel like churches and ministries do a great job of the pre and the engagement and the accountability. But then I remember like they're supposed to check up on us like a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months down. And I think after the second month, they just stopped messaging us. And I was kind of like, wait a minute, like, where'd you guys go? And it just felt really hard to continue to be like, okay, guys, like we're doing everything you're saying, and it's 6 months in, and like, this is not getting any better. Like, what the heck, And it was just kind of like, okay, well, we did our part, so bye. And it's like, hold up. Like, okay, so there seems to be this pattern, and I'm praying that, if you guys are listening to this, and you've had this experience, or you've had opposite, like, please put a comment, send us an email to k.price@kpriceministries.org, because I would love to hear your story. And if you might have an answer to this question of if there is really something missing in these ministries that we could potentially do better to serve couples, I think this would be such an interesting question to dive into, because I wouldn't say it became a power trip for me in our scenario, but it just became kind of like just like a falling off. And it was just really strange, because I was like you said, you're like, we're hurting, like, we have these issues, and we're here, like, we're showing up. And I don't know why. It made it seem like we weren't important enough,
Yes.
and I don't know. That is such an interesting question, and I pray that we could get an answer to that out here. But the praise of it is where people fall short, like, God picks up the slack.
Yeah.
And I mean, just slam dunks it. And and that's what I'm so grateful for, because I feel like that is what, happened for us in our marriage, where there just got to be a point where I was like, you know what? Like, God is my mighty counselor. That is what Isaiah says. And it's there for a reason. Like, he is the mighty counselor. He is the best counselor we could ever have. And I feel like my husband and I, independently and together, like, strengthening our relationship with Christ really helped us, like, strengthen our marriage and our covenant, where it's like, we might have little tiffs now and then, but we know we're not going anywhere at the end of the day. And, people might have failed us in this ministry, but we know that, like, God picked up the slack, and he's going to always be there for us. And so can you share, like, what life looks like for you now? Like, how has God been helping, like, to continue teaching you his truth, and, like, picking up that slack and continuing carrying you forward?
Gosh, I think just this entire season of my life has been God. I listened to this podcast. I can't remember what it was, like, what podcast it was or who did it, but she talked about how when God doesn't want you to be somewhere and you disobey by staying after he's told you to go, he will pluck you, and it will be more painful than if you had just left in the first place. And I feel like that's the season that I'm in. Like, it's my child is crying outside the door.
I'm sorry. Baby.
Hi. What do you need? You fell down.
Oh.
Okay. Can I give you a kiss? You're better? Okay. You want to go watch your show? Okay. Well, my life looks a lot like that.
Girl, I feel that.
This is single motherhood. This is like my work life in a nutshell too. Like, when I'm anytime I'm doing, like, any kind of calls or anything, usually they're, like, pretty okay. But there's always something like this. And I always preface, like, my Zoom calls or Discover calls with clients. I'm like, okay, I have 2 kids and I don't have office hours. So
yes, that was me this morning. I had 2 calls that I needed to do. And it's always, especially, like, when I'm doing a work call, that one of them hurts themselves, one of them bites the other. Like, Maya went and, like, fell off of a chair, and I was like, gosh. You never even sit on that chair. So out of all times and out of all days, like, why did you choose today?
Like, and they also need, like, 18 snacks, and they can't open whatever they choose. Like, oh my,
Yes, and I get off the phone and they're like, I'm going to go read a book. And I was like, you couldn't have done that.
Yes. I'm like, okay.
20 minutes ago.
Oh my gosh, I'm glad it's not just me.
No, definitely not just you. Oh my goodness. Oh man, okay. Toddlers, I tell you.
I think so my life now.
Oh yes. Okay. When God plucks you where you should not have been and puts you where you need to be.
So that is my entire season that I'm in right now. I was a wedding photographer for 6 years, and I had a business partner, and things just went super south with that recently. I worked, ran marketing for a coffee shop, my now boyfriend's coffee shop. that it was in my business partner's building, and that also went south. So
oh no,
the Lord has just been plucking me. But now, that I look back, I can see signs that I should have left a long time ago. But I'm really stubborn. So I didn't. And now the season is just of plucking and pruning and growing. And the fact that I was called back to church is like, it's very timely and very necessary, because I have a lot of healing to still do and a lot of forgiving to still do. I'm propping my phone up literally with the book "Forgiving What You Can't Forget" by Lisa Turkis. I don't know how to say her name, but she also has a very incredible marriage restoration story. But my life now, it's very fulfilling and very happy. And my ex-husband and I are great co-parents now. Like, the first year was really, really hard. But now we are on the same page and we work really well together. We're going to soccer practice together this afternoon. We show up for our boys. And I think there's this stigma attached to divorce that where like, if you choose divorce, you're like, messing up your kids forever because you're not showing them what like a real relationship and real marriage looks like. But in my opinion, if I had stayed, I would have shown them that that's what marriage was. And my marriage was not okay, ever, like in any season of our lives. It was never okay. And despite the work that we put in to try and get it okay. And then ultimately it was because of the infidelity and stuff. But I think my life now and even my ex's life now, like, he's happy, he's pursuing his dreams, he's doing things that he's always wanted to do, which I'm super thankful for. He's showing our boys that like, you can go after whatever you want to do in life. And he's working in ministry, which I'm really thankful for, because he's healing, and he's he has apologized many times for many things. And so, I mean, we're just trucking along, and I'm trying to single mom it and run a business and homeschool, which is crazy. But yeah. And I think going back to church it was like the final puzzle piece to what I needed to be doing right now. And I ignored it for a really long time. And I think God knew I was going to ignore it because he knows everything, but he like started, planting the seed with my friend who invited me like 6 months ago. And every time she would invite me, because she was never like, you have to go to church. Come on. Like, you're not doing okay if you're not going to church. She'd just be like, well, we're doing this thing. If you want to come, it's going to be super fun. And, she'd invite me to like the Super Bowl parties and stuff for her D group, and just try and minister like through those things with me. And so I think that, that was the final piece of the puzzle of where God wants me in this season. And in this, like, I don't know, crazy season of my life.
Yeah. That's so awesome. And I feel like that is, it goes full circle to even just the point of this episode, which is like, I want to be able to equip and challenge saints. So people listening, where maybe like you are in the group where you didn't do a good job for a friend that was suffering or carrying a burden, and you really might need to go repent and like ask for their forgiveness and apologize. Or maybe like you are doing this well, like your sweet friend sounds like she does, and you can be a light to other people and be able to teach other people how to do that. Or, if you see somebody that is kind of doing the opposite, where you might be able to gently encourage them, like, hey, so I've gotten to experience this similar situation with somebody I love, and I've learned that if you do this XYZ, you can expect XYZ, or you can expect them to feel XYZ, hurt, betrayed, anxious, whatever. And so I just love hearing that, man, just that love that your friend shared and is sharing with you. And that is what marks Christians, is our love, that we are there to share Christ's love and love our neighbors as ourselves. Is the second greatest commission, is to share the gospel and to love. And that was, the point of this conversation, is to share in this circumstance, in this topic that is fairly divisive in the church, or just swept under and not really acknowledged as a problem, or is just very judged and condemned, when first off, unless you're involved, it's really none of your business. And it's all of your business is to pray and to pray for that couple, that people would come and surround them with love like you had, and accountability and mentorship and ministry. That is your business, is to pray, not to pry. But then also to be able to know how to act, afterwards or during that, or not being oh, I wonder what happened. Where is her husband? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It's you are Amanda. And when we met you at the coffee shop, I would not have known that you were mom. I didn't know that you were you were just a person. And through just that first initial sentence, when we engaged with you, I could just tell, oh, she's got the Spirit in her. This is a sister in Christ. And I don't know anything else about her. And I think the first thing I asked, I had noticed that you had a camera on the bar. And so I was asking about your camera, and then you were telling me about it. And then you had a picture up on your computer that popped up. And then it just kind of continued on from there. And then you got to just share who you were from there. And it just makes me think, what if we looked at people not for their, their burdens or their troubles or their differences, but just looking at them as a person, in the eye, just getting to see them and acknowledge them as somebody made in the image of God, and how much that could change how we might minister to others and love one another. And so praise God that he's redeeming your story right now through that trial and that suffering. And there are countless instances in the Bible. I'm just reading in Hebrews right now, even in Hebrews 10, that something that I can flip to right now. I just read it this morning, that our trials produces steadfastness in our faith. So Hebrews 10:32, it says, "But recall the former days when, after you were enlightened, you endured a hard struggle with suffering, sometimes being publicly exposed to reproach and affliction, and sometimes being partners with those so treated. For you had compassion on those in prison, and you joyfully accepted the plundering of your property, since you knew that you yourselves had a better possession and an abiding one. Therefore, do not throw away your confidence, which has a great reward. For you have need of endurance, so that when you have done the will of God, that you may receive what is promised." And so it was a reminder to the Jews who were struggling with their conversion and wanting to go back to old ways and old habits, that this was a reminder that you have gone through so much, and you will continue to go through so much hardship, suffering. And it continues in Hebrews 11, giving testimony to the martyrs of the faith who've been brutally killed, defending the Bible, defending the faith, defending Christ. But that suffering produces steadfastness, and that steadfastness endurance. And our endurance in this race that we need to keep our strength for is getting to heaven, and knowing that is where our eternal promise lies. But while we run the race, God still has blessings for us, and he's still always redeeming our story. And I think that's just what's so beautiful about yours, is that you answered the call, you answered his call, and he is giving you answers to that, to that obedience, and allowing you to co-parent with your ex. That's so wonderful, because I think that is it's so true, what you said, coming from a kid whose parents were separated, and my parents did not co-parent. They were not even allowed near each other in the same driveway. Wow. The cops were called on each other. So it was so embarrassing.
I can't even imagine.
And so it makes such a huge difference, even if like, my parents' marriage didn't work out, but they are still showing each other respect. They're still showing each other like that they care for me and value, and you value your kids and you value your time, and you're providing for them and stuff. And like, that is such a testament even to your motherhood and even to your marriage that didn't work out, I feel like, because you guys are still doing what you need to do to raise healthy kids.
Yeah.
And bring them into the world prepared, but knowing that they're loved and cherished and made in the image of God, which is like the most important thing.
Yes.
And so I just have noticed that getting to know you on social media, and it's been so encouraging for me and just so beautiful. And so I'm just like so thankful that you took the time to have some coffee and hang out with me and share your story. Because I just would love to be able to encourage even just one person out there, no matter which side of the fence they're sitting on in this type of scenario. And then, of course, giving all glory to God at the end of the day, that he is so good and faithful to his children, and that he will take the broken, hard, horrible things that happen to us and he makes them new. And at the end of the day, like, he is going to redeem our brokenness when we get to heaven and when the new earth comes. Like, he's recorded and logged every tear that's fallen and every heart that's broken. And like, he is going to answer to that someday. And that we can always look forward to that hope when that day comes, but that we can continue to look forward to those messages and that love he gives us in the meantime. And so thank you so much, Amanda, for sharing with us. And if you could, if you wouldn't mind sharing some resources or like books that you found really helpful in this process, in this journey, that we could share with listeners.
Gosh, let me think. Well, this one that I'm reading currently is the Forgiving What You Can't Forget by Lisa. I don't know how to say her last name. Terkeurst. Terkeurst. I'm so sorry. I love her. I love her stuff so much because she is, I don't know if you know any of her story, but her husband was very incredibly unfaithful multiple times. He had, I believe, a gambling issue and some other really big issues. And she, in the same year, she was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh my word.
Yeah. So she had quite a year. And this was, I believe, in 2017, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to say it and be wrong, but she has walked through some stuff, and she felt like she needed to stay and restore and pray for restoration. And that happened in their marriage. And I'm so thankful for that for her. She has a lot of great resources for anybody walking through the decision of, if you're going to pursue divorce, which, like, I chose to not pursue, or I chose to pursue divorce, and I still found all of her books really, really helpful. She has one, let me see if I can find it on my bookshelf over here. I believe it is, It's Not Supposed to Be This Way.
Oh, I've heard of that book. Yes.
It's really, really good. I don't know why I can't find it now, but
I've heard a lot about that book.
Yes, it's basically her walking through her story, in her life. Like, it's not supposed to be this way. This is not which is what I struggled with so much, because, I was like 27, I think, when I first realized that, like, I'm going to be divorced. Like, this is my life. This is okay. And, like, breather. And then I think, like, it's not supposed to be this way. Like,
yeah,
this is not what I signed up for. This is not what was supposed to happen with my life. I'm supposed to be, like, saving to buy my first home with my husband and, like, having another baby and, like, all of those things. And those feelings are really, really hard to navigate. And even if somebody chooses to stay after somebody being unfaithful in the marriage, all of her books are amazing. Her story is amazing. I really like the book Love and Respect too.
Okay, I've heard of that book.
It's really, really good. It's very eye-opening. I actually read it after my divorce, and then I had to call my ex and be like, I am so sorry because I did things in our marriage that were not respectful.
Yeah.
And then gosh, what else? I'm trying to think. I just like, I would encourage anybody who's walking through a divorce currently or struggling with the decision of to stay or go, to seek counseling from a Christian counselor, not a church counselor. There's a difference.
Yeah.
And that, church counseling is great. And I think
Like
that's
a lay
important.
person, like a
Yes.
professional person and not a lay person.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Which like both of them have their place. And I think that's super important, but somebody who knows the insides of marriage and like the psychology behind marriage, and then the Bible surrounding marriage and surrounding each other, like that is so important. And I encourage that. My ex-husband and I went to, I think 3 counseling sessions before I actually like made the decision. And the counselor was a Christian counselor, and he was very supportive and very like, he was like, you biblically have a right here, and this is what you're up against if you choose this, and this is what you're up against if you choose this, and we'll walk through it together. And but yeah, I think just also making sure you have a community of people who are not going to just jump on the train of like, telling you what to do, or like emotionally telling you what to do.
Yeah.
Like, because as a friend, if my best friend called me and she said her husband was unfaithful, my first instinct is to be like, oh, what? No, like leave him. But as a Christian friend, that's not what I'm called to do. I'm called to minister and speak truth and ask questions and love and pray and all of those things.
And that is such good advice. I love that, because that is the absolute truth. You're absolutely right. So those are awesome. I will have these books listed in what do you guys, I'm new to the podcast world, so I think you call them show notes.
Show notes. Yes.
I'll have them linked in the show notes, and my show notes will come from my Amazon shop. If you guys have not visited my blog before, my pages before, this is one of the ways that I support my ministry, is through my Amazon affiliate storefront. So I have a little library, and these books will be linked in my library as well, so you can always have access to them. And I would highly recommend, honestly, that you read any of these, no matter what you are not going through, because I've personally heard of 2 out of the 3 books. And Love and Respect has been on my list for 2 years, and I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yes.
It is like, I swear, we go to counseling and they'll be like, have you read Love and Respect yet? And I'm like,
yes. It's
gosh, no.
Like, oh,
I know.
Okay, well.
I know. So if you're going to get married and you're engaged, you might as well just read Love and Respect before you walk down the aisle, and just get that out of the way.
Yep. It's honestly, it's so good for like, I mean, it comes at it from a marriage perspective. So he references like husband, wife, but I have been able to take a lot of it into like my business relationships as well. Especially like as a woman, and like if I have a client who's a man, like, being like,
so much sense.
Yeah. So that book is phenomenal. I highly recommend.
I would never even have thought about that from like a business mindset I have recently thought of that, where you have to talk to men and women differently. But that's such a great point. So y'all entrepreneurs out there, make sure you read this book too. So, man, I just want to thank you so much for giving us your time today and just being so willing to share your story. And I am just praying that this message is heard well by open ears and open hearts that would take this and receive it. Guys, this is great stuff. And I'm just so grateful. I don't even think I'd ever shared, but it was a total fluke that we ended up in that city to begin with. We were supposed to go to Oklahoma because we needed to go run up to Oklahoma and get something. And it turned out that we couldn't. And so that day was going to be spent in Oklahoma, but we ended up spending it in town instead.
Oh my gosh.
And so it just makes me think like, wow, man, like God he orchestrates so meticulously and beautifully
Yes.
and purposefully, and his timing is just impeccable every time. And so I'm just so thankful that we came to that shop that morning and that, you shared what you did that morning and just were, so loving and encouraging to us because, that was something that we will always remember on that anniversary weekend. And it just played like just that one little moment, that one little day, that little waffle and breakfast sandwich that you gifted us in coffee. I got a gingerbread latte. I'm telling you, like that was just the most perfect morning, and we will never forget it. And so I just want to thank you so much, and just giving all the thanks to God for like putting us in each other's paths. Because I'm just so I'm excited to come out there and see you again. I have a reason
to please do.
We'll be back. We're going to be going to Katy Depot and seeing the new spot, the Revolution Coffee Co.
I'm so excited.
Oh yeah, I'll keep you posted for sure when we're back over there. And
awesome.
Just thank you so much, Amanda, and thank you guys so much for hanging out and having some coffee with me today. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out, or, I don't know how this is going to work yet, but this should be on YouTube, so you can always leave a comment. You can find me on Instagram at mama_kprice. You can follow K Price Ministries on Facebook. And if you feel led to give, you can find our donation page for K Price Ministries at www.kpriceministries.org/donate. And that will help us keep this podcast going so that we can continue to serve you guys, not only the gospels, but some real life, tangible stories and encouragement and edification to the faith. So, Amanda, I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon and a great weekend, because I, again, just remembered that it's Friday. I hope that you get to have some great time. And if anybody wants to keep up with you, where can they find you?
I forgot my Instagram handle. So my photography page is arccreative_co and ARC, not ARK. And then my personal page is, I think, A Mendenhall. No, it's Amanda Mendenhall 91.
There you go.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
It's okay. We've got more important things to think about usually than our Instagram handles.
True. So true. Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing.
So welcome. I am so appreciative.
Sky, hello blue. There's nothing can hold me when I hold you. Goodbye gray sky, hello blue. There's nothing can hold me. There's nothing can hold me. Goodbye gray sky, hello blue. There's nothing can hold me when I hold you. Goodbye gray sky, hello blue.